Again, back to your overall structure of your economic syllabus. The basic economic problem, we've done the first three, the nature of economic problem, the factors of production, and opportunity cost. The last topic from this subunit is the production possibility diagram, production possibility curve, sometimes called the production possibility frontier, PPF. Here we go. Production possibility curve. First of all, what the examiner expects from us in the exam. We need to define, draw and interpret appropriate diagrams. Definition, drawings and interpretation of appropriate diagrams. The significance of the location of the production points. The movement along a PPC and opportunity cost. The opportunity cost would be rediscovered in this subunit. The causes and consequences of shifts in a PPC, that is production possibility curve, in terms of an economy's growth. So these are the areas covered in this subunit. First of all, what is production possibility curve? This is to the left, to the right of your screen, is what you call the production possibility curve. What does it tell us? It's a curve. Unlike the previous example, which was a straight line, it's a curve. Why is a curve? I'll explain. So production possibility curve, as you can see, it measures the maximum output of two goods using fixed amount of input. When you say input, that means the various factors of production we use, the four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. We have boats on the x-axis and trucks on the y-axis. This production possibility curve tells us that if we are at A, we can produce 9 units of boats per year, 9,000 basically, the thousands per year, and we can produce 4,000 trucks per year. If we decide to produce boats only, we can produce 10,000 boats every year. And if we decide to produce trucks only, we can produce 10,000 trucks. Since our productive resources are limited, we have to select a combination of these. So if we select A, that means we will be able to produce 9,000 boats, 4,000 trucks. If we decide to move to point B, that means we will have to sacrifice some units of boat. That is 2,000 boats will be sacrificed in order to get 3,000 extra trucks per year. So if we move to point B, we will be able to produce 7,000 boats and 7,000 trucks. If we move to point C, we will be able to increase our production of trucks to 9,000, but our production of boats will fall to 4,000. So these ABC, these 4 points, they represent 3 different mixes of our two products, boats and trucks. So basically, each of these points on the curve shows how much of each good will be produced when resources shift from making one product to another. If we shift our production from boats to trucks, we can produce more trucks, less boats. This represents point B. From point B to C, we can produce more trucks, even less boats. Now let us try to calculate the opportunity cost in this given example. Let's say right now I am at point C and I'm producing 4,000 boats and 9,000 trucks. We want to produce more boats. We can't go beyond this production possibility curve because this is our maximum production capacity. E point is impossible to attain in the short run. E is impossible. We can't go to E because we can't produce above the production possibility curve. Our production capacity, our productive resources will not allow us to go to point E. So right now we are at point C, where we are producing 9,000 trucks and 4,000 boats. If we want to produce more boats, we'll have to move to point B. So in order to get 3,000 extra boats, I will have to sacrifice 2,000 of trucks. Okay, let's say if I want to increase my production of boats even at a higher level, for that I have to move from point B to A. Now in this case, how many more boats do I get? 7 to 9,000. I get 2,000 extra boats, But for that, I will have to sacrifice now 3,000 of trucks. First, I had to sacrifice 2,000 trucks to get 3,000 boats, additional boats. Now I have to sacrifice 3,000 trucks to get 2,000 extra boats. See, my opportunity cost is increasing. Let us see the last option. Let's say I want to move from point A to point Y, for example. And this movement will give me 1,000 additional boats by sacrificing 4,000 trucks. See, my opportunity cost is increasing at every point. In order to get 3,000 additional boats, I have to sacrifice 2,000 trucks. Then for 2,000 extra boats, I have to sacrifice 3,000 trucks. And for the last 1,000 extra boats, I am sacrificing 4,000 trucks per year. This is what you call the increasing opportunity cost. Unlike the previous example where the production possibility diagram showed a straight line like that, but in this case, it's a curve. Whenever it's a curve like this, it indicates that opportunity cost is increasing. Every additional unit of boat would require more sacrifice of trucks, right? So most of the questions will involve a curve like this. So within this diagram, you can see that for every additional boat, you will have to sacrifice more trucks, thereby showing you increasing opportunity cost. So as we have discussed, it is not possible to reach point E. We can move from anywhere between A, B, and C. We can always move here or there. But whenever we move along the curve, our opportunity cost would increase. Whether you move from C to B, you will have to sacrifice more boats. If you need to move from B to C, you will have to sacrifice more boats for more trucks. So opportunity cost is at an increasing rate. If your economy is at point D, what does it tell you? It tells you that you are not utilizing your productive potential. Position D indicates that resources are not being fully utilized. It is underutilization of your resources. E is impossible. Your production possibility curve can have these shapes as well. For example, this is your original production possibility curve, good A or good B. Either you can produce all good B's or all good A's, or you can produce any combination. M, O, X, for example. As we have discussed, N is not possible unless your economy becomes more productive. There is a technological improvement, or through training we have improved the quality and quantity of our labor, then we can produce more of these two. This would show economic growth. If you are able to produce more B's and more A's, it means your production possibility curve will shift outwards. This indicates economic growth. Now we can produce more units of A and B. It can also result in pivotal shift sometimes, that, for example, this is your original production possibility curve, and through some change in technology, new methods of production, training, we are now able to produce more units of X, more units of Y. That shows the economic growth we discussed in the previous example. It could result in a pivotal shift like this as well. Like in this example, we have 3 mobile phone factories producing mobile phones. So original production possibility curve was like this one, J, K, and L. We can just produce any combination of these. But with the passage of time, if the new technology becomes available, that increases your productivity. Now the same number of firms can produce more mobiles. This indicates the pivotal shift. We can now produce more mobiles than the previous level of production, right? It could result in this form as well. If the number of factories go up and they can produce more units of mobile phones, so it will show a movement or shift in this way. All right, now let us try to understand our concept, how much well we have understood, using some examples or questions. An economy is producing at X. means we are producing at X 200 units of food and 75 units of machines, which is not shown here. If we move from point X to point Y, what is the opportunity cost of choosing to produce at Y instead of X? So if we move from point X to point Y, we will have to sacrifice 50 units of food to get additional 25 units of machines. So if we move from X to Y, what we are sacrificing 50 units of food to get extra 25 units of machines. So our sacrifice here, our opportunity cost here is 50 units of food. That's what we're sacrificing. Taking it in the reverse order, let's say right now we are at position Y and we want to move to position X. Now what is the opportunity cost in this situation? If we move from point Y to X, we will have to sacrifice 25 machines to get 50 units of food. In this case, our opportunity cost for additional 50 units of food would be 25 machines. I'm sure you got the idea. One more question. A country is producing at point X on its production possibility curve, which shows how it can allocate its production between capital goods and consumer goods. Capital goods on the y-axis, consumer goods on the x-axis. A period of recession then causes some of its factories to close. Recession, economic downturn. Recession is when economy starts shrinking. Recession is the reduction in your GDP growth rate. It becomes negative. Economy shrinks. We'll discuss later in your macroeconomics. So we are witnessing recession, that is reduction in the size of economy means less capital goods, less consumer goods. So definitely the only point where we can be, what would be the new position? Definitely C, because economic recession means we will be producing less consumer goods and less capital goods. Do not shift the production possibility curve. No, production possibility curve stays in this position. It's just that economy is undergoing recession. That is why our production has fallen to C. PPC stays the same. PPC stays the same even if there is unemployment, even there is economic recession. As long as your productive resources are in place, the PPC stays at the same position. Yes, it will fall if there is a natural disaster or war or famines. Otherwise, PPC stays the same. That's an important point. We'll discuss this concept in the next question. The diagram shows two production possibility curves for an economy. X, X, Y, Y. That could have caused the, what do you think? That could have caused the change in the economy's production possibility curve from XX to YY. PPC is now shifting inwards. It is not caused by price level. If the price level falls, we know when the price falls, the supply of goods and services fall. But that is not the shift in PPC. If the supply is less, it doesn't mean the productive resources are destroyed. Productive resources are there. Land is there. Labor is there. Capital is there. Entrepreneur is there. It's just that they are not producing. So PPC stays at the same level. So decrease in price level doesn't shift. Large number of industrial disputes between workers and the entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are still there. Workers are still there. They're not dead. Since they're not dead, PPC stays at the same position. Increase in unemployment. Yes, when unemployment increases, output falls, but people are still there. They're not dead. They are still available. It's just that unemployment has risen. Productive capacity still stays the same. So A, B and D, they might result your production to fall, but PPC would stay at the same point. When PPC falls, when there is a major earthquake, war, that would result in PPC to shift inwards. So the correct answer here is a major earthquake that has destroyed your productive capacity. Many people have got killed. Now your productive potential has fallen from XX to YY. Next. The diagram shows production possibility curve, PPC, for a country that can produce agriculture products or manufactured products. Its current PPC passes through point Q, shown here in this figure, and S, but the country is currently experiencing unemployment, right? If there is now full employment at the same time, if there is full employment, that won't result in shift in PPC. Full employment doesn't result in shift. What results in shift? Wars, earthquakes, increase in productivity, improvement in technology. It will either result in shift outwards or shift inwards. So it says that at the same time, a new agricultural techniques enable an increase in productivity. What would be the movement on the PPC? Now the PPC, because of just this, not just of full employment, no, not full employment, just because of new agricultural techniques, we will be able to produce more. Since agricultural productivity has increased, so we will see a pivotal shift. Manufactured product would stay at the same time, but because we have got new technology or some new techniques, so we will be able to produce more of agriculture products. So a new curve will be at this point. So where do you think that Q will move now? It will move. So Q now will move to R, and if we were originally at P, let's see first here. It says that its current PPC passes through point Q and S, and since we were not using our resources fully, we were originally at P. So P was the original point, underutilization. When there is increase in productivity on the y-axis, more agriculture product means then P will move to R. Right. Had we been originally at Q, it would have been Q to R, or since we were underutilizing our productive resources, so since there is full employment and at the same time new agricultural techniques, so P will move to R, so that makes A to be the correct option, P to R. Next question. The diagram shows a production possibility curve for maize and cotton. Bad weather causes a poor harvest for both crops. Bad weather, temporary, your productive resources are there. When productive resources are destroyed by war, by earthquake, floods and fires, PPC comes inward. When there is economic growth, agriculture productivity increases, PPC will shift outwards. But in this case, it's just the poor harvest, bad weather, nothing else, and poor harvest for both crops. It means which movement would be used to represent this change? Which point originally? Not P to R, since we were at the production possibility curve, and production possibility curve stays the same because it is just a bad weather, nothing else. Productive resources are still there. So moving inwards, the new position of Q would be R. Less cotton and less maize. So that makes Q to R to be the correct option.